Good evening, 12s, and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast. I'm Candace Higgins,
No, I'm Tino Ganasius.
and we are back to reevaluate during the Seahawks bye week, a time of reflection, self scouting, all the good things. The Seahawks are ending their or going into their bye week off back of a win. Seahawks are now 5-2, and they're tied for the NFC West. What are they, second or are they first at the moment? But there's a tie, so I'm not gonna get too caught up in in the standings. We've gotten bit by that before, but anyway, Tino, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Right, traveling for work right now, or training for work outside of home, which is a little goofy. But Seahawks wise, I'm still seeing a 500 team. I know they're 5-2, tied with the Rams for first place. The Niners lost today, but I don't. I'm still not super impressed. I get that the Hawks beat the Texans on Monday night. At times looked impressive, at times did not. I think we saw a little bit of, Sam Darnold did not have a great game, in my opinion, on Monday night. They were missing Julian Love and Devon Witherspoon, which I think showed up quite a bit, although Ty Okada played pretty well. Lots to talk about with that game. I need to see more of I see a commitment to a running game. I saw 33 attempts on Monday night, and I like the fact that they stick with it, but it's not very effective. And I need to see more from the running game. I think the secondary with the injuries can be attacked. I know these guys are coming back next week with the bye. There's holes or things to pick at, and I don't think this team is an elite team or a division winner until those holes get patched up. But I do see, a better team than I thought this would be coming into this season for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. First, we got a comment from Jen. What's up? Tell us what's up, Ace and guest Tino. And guess
Yes,
is funny. What's
appreciate
up?
that.
Sajid normally refers to me as Ace, end of Candace. So appreciate you supporting and watching live as my camera goes out. We'll work on that on the back end. But anywho, you brought up some interesting points because from my perspective, when I look at this team, I think there's a lot to like. I stand by a lot of my initial um, analysis that this is an 11-win team. I think that they can do that, particularly because I'm pretty big on their schedule down the stretch. Now, I do still have questions about in the biggest moments. I think Sam Darnold, there are questions there. He hasn't done anything to answer people's questions in that regard, I don't think. Um, but I came away maybe more impressed than a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. That game against the Texans was frustrating because they frankly should have run away with that game. No question about it.
Mhm.
But but they didn't. They basically kind of played with their food. Turnovers got them, and that ultimately made this a way longer game than it had to be for everybody. Some folks up till 1 a.m. their time watching this game, but I saw a lot of good things because for me, bottom line, I said coming into that episode. I mean, sorry, on our last episode coming into that game that I expected Sam Darnold to have a turnover or two. That defense is legit. And even now against the 49ers, you see a lot of, that still stands, right? I expected this
Mhm.
defense to rattle the offense a little bit and for them not to be as stable. They actually performed a little bit better than I expected. And now we've lost Tino. Sorry. All right, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties we got going on, but I'm going to truck ahead as I try to resolve some of these issues on the back end. But anyway, from a team offensive performance standpoint, they actually had quite a few explosive plays. JSN was still able to dominate really in that game, and most people going into that game, including myself, had pegged JSN to be basically a non-factor. He kind of proved that he's looking unguardable right now. We'll see if that sustains itself over a whole season, but right now he's the best wide receiver in football, statistically, and I think by the eye test as well. And I think that's a promising sign. the turnovers, all of those things, you want to see them get better in those situations, absolutely. And I think at some point it will come back to bite them if they can't clean it up. But man, I'm still very high on the Seahawks team. Um, but I'll say this: Seahawks team has been here before. Like we have had these hot starts to the season. We've had these, seasons where folks come in and they think, yeah, like fans are hyped, fans are excited, and ultimately they falter. So I say the second half of this stretch will tell us the most
Hello,
about who the Seahawks team is. Can you hear me?
hello, hello, hello,
Yeah, you back. I'm with you. I see you. I hear you. Can you hear me?
hello,
No, Tino, hang on. I'm gonna hop back on. Can I can hear you. Go ahead and take it from here. Tino, can you hear me? No, he can't hear me. Okay.
hello.
Yeah, I can't.
And I can't hear anything.
Yeah. All right. So, um, let's just.
Hello,
It may be me.
hello, hello, hello,
Yep. I hear you.
hello.
Yep. I hear you, Tino. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Sajin says I didn't care for the trick plays when, especially against a good defense. Oh yeah, Sajin said he's on his phone. He can't see the names of the guy. That's cool, but I agree with you, Sajin. That trick play was it was a momentum killer, and that's not the first time that they have had momentum absolutely shot in the foot just um by their inability to keep their foot on the gas pedal. So when Coach Mike McDonald was asked about what went into the decision to do that trick play, he said he wanted to be aggressive. And in my mind, um, the more sound approach would not be some crazy trick finesse play, right? You play into your identity, who this team wants to be. At that point, you begin to experiment with running the football, kill some clock, right? I was surprised that they considered a trick play. I can to be aggressive. Um, I just think it's a simple rule that Clint Kubiak needs to follow before he continues to do these like before he does these trick plays. Answer this simple question: are you up three scores? Are you up three scores? If you are up three scores, then I think you have a go, right? To do the trick plays, throw in a couple, see how things may go. Right? Can you hear me now? Can you hear anything now? Testing, testing. One, two, test, test. One, two. Can you hear me? All right. I might end up, unfortunately, I might end up needing to kill the broadcast if Tino can't hear. Trying to get him on, but maybe it's just me. Hang on. I'm gonna hop off and see if that fixes it. Okay, let's see. How we looking?
I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before.
Okay. All right. Well, I will piggyback. Maybe that was all. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, my camera's back. I'm back.
Good.
So we will continue. Essentially, what I was saying, we're talking about Sajin had a good comment. I'll go back to it before about the trick play and
Okay.
Clint Kubiak and calling that. And in my opinion, I think. very simple. Like Clint Kubiak needs a rule, man. If you are not up by 3 scores, you don't get to do trick plays. Like I don't understand his obsession with trying to put a dagger in somebody like on another team with a finesse play. Like when Mike McDonald was asked about this play, his response was that we wanted to be aggressive, and that's not aggressive. That's finesse. You know what I mean? It
He
takes that time to just experiment with the run game if you're in plus territory at that point.
you want your best passer to be throwing the ball. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it sounds simple. The other thing is if you're gonna put that play in, which obviously they had to install it, you're gonna tell him if the receiver's not open by like 10 yards, throw the ball away or run it. Like do not try to force it in there, right?
Yeah.
I I just about lost it on that play. That was it
Yeah.
was so boneheaded. And you see offensive coordinators do that all the time where they try to get cute. You see it in college football all the time. Just do what got you there, right? Do what you're good at.
Yep.
They're good at throwing the ball. Like you're good when you give. I think JSN had what 15 targets. Go to JSN. Go
Yeah.
back
He
to
was open.
JSN over and over again until they double team him, and then go to other people. Do not let Cooper Cup throw an intercept. I was pissed. I was
Yeah, nah,
pissed.
it was frustrating. Yeah, he said when we have a good offense, man, you got that's exactly like this. The offense was cooking in this continued pattern. But I will say I'm concerned about probably to my eye one of Clint Kubiak's biggest flaws right now is his inability to, or maybe not inability, his misreading of momentum. I think he wants to put the dagger in someone with these cute plays. Two-score game isn't put away. Like it's not put away until it's a three-score game. Then you can start getting a little cute. Then you can start doing things to add, a little extra to, a little sauce and style points and things like that. But he continues to take the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands when he's in a rhythm, whether it's Jalen Milroe, who they had deactivated for this particular game finally, or it's this trick play with Cooper Cup. Stop taking the football out of your quarterback, who's in a rhythm, by the way, like taking the ball out of his hands.
Uh, you want to put a like the best dagger an offense can put in an opposing team is being able to run the ball. When you're up, the best thing you can do to stab another team in the heart and have it be done
Yep.
is to be able to run the ball.
Right.
It's milk the clock, run the ball down their throat. It takes away their morale. It milks the clock. You churn out first downs, and the other team gives up. I see it with Michigan football in the Big Ten all the time, and you can literally see the other team. They're just their head sink because there's
Yeah.
nothing they can do about it.
Right.
This was supposed to be a running team, right? If you could run the ball, especially with someone like Charbonnet with the power that he has, especially because you wanted to do a lot of that outside zone stuff. Like that's the dagger. The dagger is not a trick play. Don't get rid of the trick play and take the 15 minutes you spent on the install on a trick play and teach the right side of the line how to block, right? And we might be able to actually like have a running game. That's honestly, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but that's the thing that concerns me the most about this team. Period. Is the ability when as it gets colder out, right? As teams begin to roll coverage towards JSN more and more and more, and because I expect Sam Darnold to come back down to earth, you have to have a running game. You just do. Why honor the Seahawks play action game if they can't run the ball? They averaged what 3.6 yards a carry. They ran the ball for 118 yards in this game on 33 attempts against a very good defense, right? That is commendable to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But as it, like I said, as it gets colder, as we move forward, as Sam Darnold shows more warts, you got to be able to run the ball. You have to. That's how you put the dagger in the other team.
Sajin agrees with you. He said we need stronger offensive runs. Charbonnet runs head first. Walker was taking
Mm-hmm.
step backs. Now I will say Walker had, he had a big play that was, called on penalty, so it got pulled back. I think that would have helped his average quite a bit. I think K9 struggled really, really badly in that first half. I think he sort of came to life in the second half. You saw him sort of get in the rhythm, which brings me to my point, which is I actually saw some effectiveness in the run game, and I was actually pretty impressed with their ability to run against a good front, especially on the interior, right? Especially when they decided to give up the ghost on these outside runs, like the outside wide zone. That stuff wouldn't work. But when they ran it straight in between the tackles, whether it was K9, whether it was Zach Charbonnet, that was successful. And they really didn't beat that. They didn't really build on that. They sort of came, they do something else. And then also this split carries thing, maybe it's for the sake of sustaining Kenneth Walker for the whole season. I if so, I kind of get it, but I think it hurts both running backs, and I think it hurts the running game by you not choosing to at least have a guy that gets the majority of the snaps. When you talk about lightning and thunder, a lot of times you still have a guy that's your guy, right? We're not
Mhm.
talking 50-50 splits most times in football. And I think, frankly, that's one of their bigger issues. I hope coming out of the bye week that they can figure out who they want to commit to and how they want to use them. My
I
final note.
I think I think
Oh,
you're right.
I'll let you get in. I just wanted to add this note. I think
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
they begin to do a better job of figuring out who does what type of runs. I think they begin to use them better individually. I thought in this last game, but they got to take it a step further. And then, okay, if they figured that part out, let's go with this and let's go with this concept.
Right. I think a lot of teams just kind of think about their running backs in terms of, as you said, like certain plays for certain guys, certain plays for other guys, and they'll run the play that they think is the best play for that particular situation. I personally think running backs get in a rhythm, right?
Yeah,
I think running backs get, it's one of those positions where I think you do need reps. The good ones really do need to get in a rhythm, right? And it's not something you can really kind of go back and forth with. I guess you can find some that can, but to me, Charbonnet and is the type that has to wear on you, right?
yeah,
He has to wear on you and wear on you. It's 3 yards, it's 4 yards, it's 3 yards, and then all of a sudden it's 26 yards.
yeah,
And K9 is very much a rhythm back. I think as we see his carries increase, we see his per game, um, not just because of carries increase. I think he's more effective when he has the ball in his hands a lot. Problem is he also gets hurt when he does that, right?
yeah,
But to me, I agree with you. I would love to see more defined roles. I still go back to what I said at the beginning of the season. I would love to see Charbonnet on first and second down and see him be the primary back, maybe the guy that gets 14, 15 carries a game. You give K9 eight carries, nine carries, 10 carries, but also have him play on third down. You've got him running the ball some on third down out of the gun. You have him catching some passes out of the backfield on the perimeter. To me, that's a more traditional take, but I think they need more defined roles because I don't see either of them ever really getting in a rhythm. They had one, I forgot which game it was, they alternated really big games. I think maybe weeks 2 and 3, something like that, and then they've been haven't been that good since. I don't know how much of that is a product of the line. Again, the Texans have a very good defense, but I just, again, that's something I feel like they're going to need. K9 went 17 for 66, and Charbonnet went 12 for 49. That's not very efficient, um, rushing as far as I'm concerned. And they're going to
yeah.
need it.
Yeah, I think the reason they aren't going to do your strategy with Charbonnet being the first and second down back is because Walker struggles in pass pro quite a bit. They need somebody that can be in on pass pro on those third down sets. I think you're far more likely to see the reverse of that. If they're going to do defined roles, you're far more likely to see K9 on first and second down and Charbonnet be that guy that maybe gets you the tough yards or can pick up a blitz, on a third down if it's third and long. So I
Let,
get that.
let me say though, well, let's answer Sajin first. So K Mac, I think, tore an ACL, I
Hmm.
believe, in camp, and so he's out for the year,
Yep.
which is why George Holani is their number three.
Yep.
What I was going to say though is you can't. So remember I might be. I'm definitely dating myself when I say this, but the Greatest Show on Turf Rams with Kurt Warner and Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Marshall Falk, they Mike Martz, their coach, believed in five wide and basically go ahead and bring six guys on a 5-man line. We're going to get the ball out before you're able to get to our quarterback, right? And I think Sam Darnold is, in part, you know, I think as he gets older, he gets much better at understanding defenses and understanding hot reads and things like that. I would almost be willing to go in that direction to a certain extent, right? Where maybe you use a tight end to chip a little bit on one side, But the back doesn't have to be in pass protection and third down. The back can be a threat out of the backfield and third down, and Darnold knowing he has to get rid of the ball, that he's actually just a pass catcher and he's like a wide receiver almost, not someone in there to block. And that your blitz pickups come more from, again, from a tight end or shifting of the line, knowing that you're going to have six guys on that line. I think there are ways to go about it. And I love K9 as a pass catcher out of the backfield. So to me, it doesn't have to be the running back that's picking up the blitz. I know that that traditionally that's what a third down back has to be able to do that. But I think you can think outside of the box a little bit and have him do some other stuff. I know that's not what they're going to do, um, but that's how I see those two backs when I look at them. I understand
Yeah,
that's not the direction we're going to go.
yeah, no, I think you'd be right if you didn't have any backs that could be good in pass pro. I think you need to be creative in your solutions, and I think there probably still are some times, if for nothing else, then change the pace, right? That you could switch it up and you could do that. I wouldn't love them depending on that, especially knowing, Darnold gets squirrely. I don't think that's worth. You, I mean, there's a real big downside, I think, to
Well,
potentially approach.
you could also go split back with the two of them on third down, right, where you have both backs in the backfield. You could also have a Brady Russell back there, or Robbie Oots when he comes back, where they're in charge. They have a blitz pickup, responsibilities, and you're still using a back out of the backfield. I again, this idea that they're kind of going one series is one guy, the next series is the next guy. There's no rhythm, and
Yeah,
there's no it's not, it doesn't feel smooth. It doesn't feel um, how an offense I think should feel. Right? It's real choppy. I guess
right.
is the best way to put it. We
Yeah,
will get to Woolen when we get to the defense.
yeah, yeah. That's a good question. We'll hold that for a minute, but yeah, we definitely will talk about Will, and the trade deadline is upon us. So
What
we'll
did
definitely.
you? Let me ask you this: what did you think of Arroyo? I know he fumbled in a pretty big situation as Darnold did, but Arroyo went 4 for 42 and had 5 targets, and I felt like was a real threat. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think it started off that way because they wrote it up script wise. I think it fell off once the game got going. Um, I think
But
he's
is
a
that
good.
on Arroyo or is that on Kubiak?
That's on Arroyo to me. In terms of his specific role, he had some opportunities, I think, to step up. Both he and Torrey Horton struggled to take advantage of the opportunities that they were given. They're rookies, so by no means do I like hold that particularly against them. I just think to me it's proof that you can't really put a lot of eggs in those baskets, and I would love to see them trade for a wide receiver to account for some of the things that you might see as you get later on down into the year. Because JSN is dominant, but I think depending on your rooks like Arroyo and Horton to carry you when you've got the makings of a really good team, and in a NFC that is wide open, I think that's too risky. They might decide that that's what they want to do. But I think if
Do you think
they're,
they're going to find someone better than Horton or Cup on the trade front?
yeah, what's that? The Saints guy? Uh,
Chris Olave or
no,
Rashid Shaheed?
Shaheed. Shaheed. I
Rashid
get him and I
Rashid
get him and
Shaheed.
Shador mixed up. But
Hey,
yeah,
Shaheed is great, but Shaheed is purely a deep threat.
yeah, that's fine. I think that's fine.
I also
That's
you're gonna also have to outbid the Buffalo Bills for him because I know the Bills want him pretty bad.
yeah, yeah.
You
But
know,
I mean, if they really want to contend, we'll see how they feel about this team.
what,
Um,
what about
both
MVS?
MVS just got cut on the 49ers game. It's crazy. Yeah, he's obviously not anything close to what
He's
he used to
trash.
be. I think it was more an indictment on him that Torrey Horton ended up being the guy instead, more so than Torrey Horton just being that guy, right? I just think MVS was cooked from the beginning, and that's pretty obvious because the 49ers obviously could use some help anywhere, really,
You
especially around
know,
the
yes. If I don't know, I wish the Hawks would put Derek Young or Cody White or someone like that on the outside and have them run a couple of go balls, right? Like send them downfield and throw the ball because these guys they're bigger dudes, right? And they have speed. They're good athletes, and they might. they might get under one. They might surprise, right? And I think the threat of that opens it up underneath. It was what MVS's role was supposed to be, but we don't know if one of those guys could do it until they actually. Remember David Moore from like I don't know 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, David Moore was kind of that guy where you don't really know what you have until you give him an opportunity. I don't think we knew what Bobo was.
Hmm.
Bobo was a slow white dude,
Yeah.
right, from UCLA until we actually saw him out there. And so I think that before we go giving up resources for a deep threat, I would love to see one of those guys or both of those guys be given some form of opportunity. And if you have coverage that even remotely allow it, where they're not double teamed, essentially, maybe it's a single high safety look, like put it up there and see what happens. I do though. See, I thought Arroyo was better than I think your assessment. I think he was a threat. I think when he had the ball in his hands, he looked like an explosive tight end, not just a tight end, right? Barner catches the ball, and you're like, all right, this big dude is about to get tackled, right? And you're surprised if he shakes anybody. Arroyo can pull away from some safeties, right? And he certainly can pull away from some linebackers. And I like the way that threat looks. I think this offense needs that alternative layer, right? When you're running high and low types of stuff off of play action, JSN needs that other guy. And I think that Arroyo can be that. I liked what I saw from him, and I hope they continue to script more plays to get him involved in the passing game because I think he is that threat. Um,
Go
but
ahead.
Shaheed would look great in Seahawks blue. I would love to see. Shaheed is a threat
Yeah.
as
I,
long as he continues to wear number 22 because 22 from a wide receiver is nice. I like that.
yeah, man. I'll say this. So to clarify, I think Aurelio is still very talented, and I think
Mhm.
I like this. I would like to see him continue to get some targets his way each game to see how he develops. I don't want to depend on that, but I think that just goes fundamentally to how we see the team differently. You see it as a rebuilding year. I think this team really does have a chance to do something. Um, if they can sort of clean up. To be what I like about this team on another note is that the Seahawks beat themselves. It's what I like and what I hate, right? I don't think there's been a team that they've played. I feel like by now, even the other successful teams that started off hot, there was still a game where you feel like they were outclassed. I just don't think that. I don't think that that's happened. I think they've been able to go toe to toe with the Bucks, who I think is top of the NFC, right? I think they've been able to show themselves strong. I just think they've got to clean up their own stuff, which is the most correctable issue you can make. But it does take them identifying the things that are causing those issues and cleaning them up. It's easier said than done, also, right? So,
Right. I think these Rams games are going to be the tell all. The
yep,
Rams games are going to decide essentially whether you're right or I'm right, because
yep,
the Rams are a very good team, right? I personally think the Rams are a better team, and I expect to see. Yeah, I saw that Lockett got cut. That was crazy. Um,
yeah.
I don't think he's a fit on this team.
No, I
Personally,
don't think. Mm-mm.
but maybe 5 years ago, certainly because he
Yeah.
can get behind the defense. I think the Rams are going to be the challenge, right? And
Yes.
if you believe they can beat the Rams, then yeah, I think this is a playoff team. Um,
Yeah.
I think the Rams are better myself, and I
I
think
think.
that Jared Verse is going to run roughshod over this offensive line, and if they can't keep the ball out of Matt Stafford's hands by being able to run the ball, control the clock a little bit, I think the Rams are going to take advantage of them.
I'm glad you brought up that point, because I do agree. I think ultimately that was always how this was going to go, right? These were the two teams that were at the top of the NFC West last year. They had the same record, and the difference was could they come away and pull out those wins against the Rams? And the answer was that they just weren't good enough in those moments that they needed to be. So I certainly think this season will be defined by that in large part. But I also will say I think the Rams have stronger proof of concept. I'm not sure if they're better. They've got their flaws as well, right? I think their offense is more sustainable. I would say their defense is probably playing a step above its tier. And I think you could say the reverse about the Seahawks, right? So I think these teams are very evenly matched. Coaching is going to play a really big part in this. Uh, but this game against the Texans for me was sort of a peek into the window of how they would do against those Rams teams, because I think if you can hold up and be decently well, which they were like the offense was able to function right against Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson. I think then you could take on a Jared Verse, right? I think you can live with that. To me, how the offense performed was going to be a big test, and now we see they're still in those big moments. They're still not executing properly, but this offense is also super young, right? And so a few games down the line plus a bye week is that the difference this time.
This Rams offense is 10 times better than the Houston offense. That's the
Yes,
issue to
for
me.
sure.
And I love the Seahawks defense. I believe in the Seahawks defense, but those two offenses are so like player for player, right? Kyron Williams versus a combination of Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. CJ Stroud versus Matt Stafford, right? Nico Collins is not better than Devontae Adams or Puka Nakua, right? And Nico Collins is a good wide receiver, but he's not either of those two. And the Texans line is trash, right?
Yeah,
So yes, it definitely was. I don't have confidence going into, was it 3 weeks from now, or four, I guess 4 weeks from now, including the bye. I don't i don't see them going into LA and winning that game, right? I think the telltale game will be, what is that, week 16
mhm,
at home against the Rams. That's going to probably be a big game as far as their playoff chances go.
yeah,
That's going to be, and it's coming off of playing Indianapolis, who's has the best record in the AFC right now, or tied for it. I think that's where I see this season going one way or the other. To me, that's the difference between a 10-8 team and an 8-9 team, are those two games.
yeah.
Can we talk about this defense a little bit though?
Yeah, that's a good
Because
point. So let's lead us off with this comment right here from Sajan, Coach Mac, Coach of the Year. Now
nope.
I think he lost a little steam on that. I think before this previous game, he might have had a little bit more of a case with how great that defense was playing with so many missing pieces, right? Um, but man, I know it's not LOB, and I know frankly it's not fair to compare these defenses to the LOB. But the way that Mike McDonald has his team flying around, and my favorite part about this team is I saw someone tweet out that this team is psychologically relentless, particularly on defense.
Yeah.
They look like madmen. Like this, the battles in the end zone, like defense time after time, goal line stand, goal line stand, goal line stand. I mean, really one of the most impressive defensive performances I think I've watched in a long time, not by any team, not just Seahawks.
You know who that is, in my opinion, and who the defensive MVP is, or maybe the MVP of this team. It's Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones to me is the heartbeat of that defense. He's quiet,
Yeah.
right? But the way that he fills the hole, he doesn't fill the hole, he pushes the hole back, right? And the way that he reacts, the explosiveness to his game and his athleticism. Remember, I bring it up every podcast, but the turning point last year with this defense was the acquisition of Ernest Jones. The defense looked completely different. It looked like a Mike McDonald coach defense the minute he stepped foot on the field. And he's the one for me that pops. Now, I understand that Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams and that line has to do their job to allow Ernest Jones to play the way that he does. And if they don't do their job, Ernest Jones can't be who he is. But to me, he's the heartbeat of that defense. I think if we saw him get hurt, I think we would see a huge shift in this defense's ability to stuff the run and be as clutch, right? As strong in the red zone as they were, right? The way that they bowed up on the goal line was crazy.
Yes,
He
crazy.
just he's I don't know. To me, he's the MVP as of right now. I love Ernest Jones, and I know that off-ball linebacker is not valued in the same way that it used to be. But I think when you watch him play, I just he's the one that pops. I also John Schneider needs his props. Mike McDonald too. But the fact that they identified Ernest Jones and gave up a round 4 pick to acquire him is wild, right?
Yep.
He's playing better than Patrick Queen, who was a first round pick.
Hmm.
He's playing better than a lot of guys who cost a lot more in draft capital or a lot more in salary. I
Yeah.
just I love him. He might be my favorite Seahawk on defense, and that's saying something because there are a lot of Seahawks to like on that defense. Um, Ty Okada needs to get shouted out because he played better, right? He was better in coverage in this game.
I believe he
I
played
was
well.
nervous. I said that on the last pod that I was excited because I thought Julian Love was coming back, and I was worried about Nick Collins getting deep. And Ty Okada played really well. Julian Love didn't play, but he showed up. And so to not have Love or Spoon out there and not get picked apart, I have it here. Nico Collins went 4 for 27 on 10 targets. 10 targets, and he went 4 for 27 against one of the most explosive receivers, 6'4", gets downfield, high points the ball. They shut him down. Now,
Yep.
Dalton Schultz went 9 for 98 on 10 targets. So clearly they were conceding some of those passes to the tight end in lieu of being able to shut down Collins. But I really, and then their rookies really showed up this week, today. The Texans rookies did on the outside at wide receiver as well. So the defense played really well without those two guys in the secondary, which leads us to Reek Woolen and to the question that Sajin asked just a little while ago about like what's Reek's trade value and what do you do with them?
Well, yeah. I do want to throw in my ring in the hat on MVP
Yeah,
to this point. I love all your points about Ernest Jones, and obviously I love the guy as well. For me, though, it's Leonard Williams because he makes that. I think it's his sort of it's his kind of like he's more of a spirit animal. He's just got that thing about him where I think it's a tandem in terms of how this defense operates. So that's not taking anything away from Ernest Jones and all your like I said, all your points are valid, but the physicality, the the unguardability almost of Leonard
right,
Williams, especially when you need him the most, for him to be able to step up in those moments. A lot of times you've got talented guys. The Seahawks have had plenty of like talented guys, but like when the rubber meets the road, right, they can't step up and make the play. Yeah,
right.
he is that guy, and so is Ernest Jones. But within their rights, I think I give my MVP to him because I think everything else functions off of how teams guard Leonard Williams. I think the attention that he takes away from a Byron Murphy or a Demarcus Lawrence really, I think, is what allows this whole team as a whole to eat. So shout
I,
out
I
to
would say I would say I agree. I think Leonard Williams is the most effective player on that line. I think you can't have one without the other,
yeah,
and I think that's a part of what Coach McDonald's defense. That's what it does, right? It's they had Matabuike in the middle, right, and then you had Roquan Smith behind. And I think those two players, you need each other because the D tackle takes the attention or takes those linemen away from getting to the second level to get hands on Ernest Jones. But if the running back can get through, right, because the defensive tackle is taking up two dudes, the expectation is that the linebacker makes the tackle. But if the linebacker is unable to make the tackle, it doesn't really matter. So to me, I think you need both of those pieces in a Coach McDonald defense
yeah,
for it to really be elite. And like both of the players that we brought up, those are those two players, right?
yeah. They are.
Um, the so Sajin just asked a question about or
Nwosu.
mentioned uh,
Nwosu. I say so.
Nwosu.
There's
Yes,
Nwosu showcasing his shadow again. Don't forget that. I think Nwosu's been playing much more like himself. You've seen him knock off some of the rust. He's made an impact early. I mean, he's come in and just been the guy that we remember. I wasn't sure that he would be able to get back to that after how much
it
he
wasn't
went
either.
through with those injuries. Yeah, he is killing it. I think he has given them a legitimate edge threat. I think him and Derek Hall as a tandem. I'm really excited to see that. Like that's also the other thing about this defense. There's still so many pieces that we have not seen. We haven't seen Devin
Right.
Witherspoon and Nick and Memori, who we should talk about by the way. We haven't
Yes.
seen Nwosu and Derek Hall to get well healthy, like this version of
Look,
together.
Mafe had a good game too. Don't forget about Boye Mafe. And I know he could be better.
All right.
Now he had a good game. This last game he had a good game. He has not been playing up to his talent. But I guess my point is that is the same as yours, which is there's the depth that they have on the line is wild, right? You're talking Boye Mafe is going to get a big contract on the open market next year. I think they're going to let him go, but you're going to see him sign a contract and you say, "What? Mafe signed for what?" Right? Because he's can set the edge, he can rush the passer, and he's big, strong, and fast. he hasn't. We want more from him, but he is those things, right? I'm telling you right now, we're going to see him sign a bigger contract than you expect. Derek Hall is explosive as heck. We know that. Nwosu, I think, has the most pressures, right, of any of the edges on the Seahawks this year,
Most
if I'm not
sacks for
mistaken.
sure. Most sacks for sure. I think Leonard Williams might have him on pressures. I'm not
And
sure
then
about pressures. He,
then
but
you
he,
look
he and Byron for sacks are leaders right now. I believe. I'm gonna double check that.
you look in the middle. You got Murphy, Williams, Reed, right? Morris has been playing well. You got waves of dudes on that defensive line. And the drop off from one guy to the next is not like any other defensive or most other defensive lines. This is a defensive coordinator's dream, is to have that kind of depth on the D line, because you know those guys tire if you don't have it, or if you have
Yeah.
one star, that star comes out and now the defensive line is average. This defensive line is never average, no matter who you have in the game. It's super, super, super impressive. Super
Yeah.
impressive.
Nwosu now
Um,
leads the team with sacks. Yes, he's got 5 sacks. Byron Murphy 4.5, and I mean
Crazy.
he's only been in for a few weeks, so that's to your point. That's crazy.
Right.
But we can move on to the defensive backs. We'll address Sajin's thoughts on the Woolen trade. For me, I'm keeping Woolen. I think we've had some questions about what happened when when he's out of the game. I think the depth at that point becomes. I think you add more problems than you solve by getting rid of him, and I think you'll get a good comp pick if you let him walk. It's not like you risk leaving empty-handed. I think you get a third or a fourth just by letting him leave. So I'm just not sure that a fifth or sixth round pick. You're not going to get anything substantial for Reek Woolen. I'd rather have the depth right now, and I don't think they're paying him, but that's what comp picks are for. So that's me.
I okay. So first of all, I don't think it's a 3 or 4 for the comp pick. I think it's probably going to be lower. That's just me. Secondly, the Raiders are the team that always comes up in terms of wanting to acquire him because he was a Pete Carroll dude
Yeah,
and he fits the Pete Carroll mold for corners. And I think the Raiders and Pete Carroll have showed with their pick of Ashton Genty that they are willing to overpay for players that they want from a draft capital standpoint. If they offered a 2 or a 3 for Woolen, which I don't put past them, I really don't. If they see him as a franchise corner, which they may, I'm doing that. See this. So this again gets back to the way that we see this 2025 Seahawks team.
right.
I see this as a developmental year. I won't call it a rebuilding year. It's a developmental year. You want to see the players that are going to be there in your Super Bowl winning team in 27, right? You want to see them develop this year. You want to see progress from them this year. The step that Arroyo took is the kind of thing that I want to see, right? You want to see Zabel get better over the course of the year. That's what matters to me the most, because I don't think this team is going anywhere. Even if this team does make the playoffs, which I don't think it will, you want to see progress. So to me, if Woolen is not going to be a part of this team moving forward, if you can get something better than a comp pick, whatever you deem, whatever the front office thinks that comp pick might be, if you can get something better for him now, you make the deal, because this team's not winning a Super Bowl. And again, this is the difference between you and I. You want to see winning progress, right? You want to see this team continue to develop in that manner. I don't
Yeah,
care about that. All I care about is the ring. I could care less if you made the playoffs or not. If you're not winning the Super Bowl and you're not capable, it does not matter to me whether you make the playoffs or not. It just doesn't. And Woolen, I think, brings something back. And I think this last game was big for his value. People needed to be reminded of who Tariq Woolen can be. I think you
yeah.
go to the Raiders and say, "What are you willing to give?" Right?
Now that's an intriguing offer. If we're talking a sec, especially if we're talking a second, then I think that's hard to turn down. I don't think that even the Raiders are giving up a second
I take a
for
three.
Woolen, but I would take a three. I would the only here are the exceptions, because he's not untradeable. You know what I mean? Like, it is Rick Woolen, and we're not keeping him next year. But I do
And
think we
he's
get
leaving.
significant value back, right? I don't have confidence that they will get significant value back. So that's why I say no. If you're talking about a three or a two, even, then yeah, I'm taking that deal, and I deal with the fallout there. The other thing I'm accepting is Jackson Powers Johnson. If they are going to give us Jackson Powers Johnson
Well,
in
sure,
place for Rick Woolen,
100%.
I
Give us our center. Let's go.
Yeah, I absolutely would also take that deal. So that's probably the only thing that they could that's probably one of the only deals that I say would interest me because Anthony Bradford is regressing back into Anthony Bradford, and I think that could easily get worse from even what we've seen so far this season and can really become a problem
Right.
as they get deeper into the season. So would love to see. It's rare to trade out for offensive linemen though, but if there's a team that's going to do it,
Well, and
it'd probably
he's
be Pete Carroll because he could care less about that offensive line. He
well,
really,
he seems to be a little bit in the doghouse too, right?
yeah,
Jackson Powers Johnson a little bit in the doghouse. I think.
for whatever
I
reason.
don't know. I think Darion Kendrick is good, and I think the more reps and the more comfortable he gets in this defense, I think he's a legitimate nickel, right? I
Yeah, but
think
he's a
that
nickel.
Spoon. What's that?
Yeah, but he's a nickel. That didn't.
No, I know, but Spoon has the versatility to play outside, and I think Spoon. I think you can play Spoon on the outside, and Spoon's still going to be a Pro Bowler on the outside. I think Spoon's a Pro Bowler no matter where you put him, as long as he's healthy. And Job, I think, is a legitimate CB2, like legitimate starter in the league. Right now, do I think that's the trio that's starting? When this team takes off. No, I think you're going to need to find another corner. I think you're going to need to move Witherspoon eventually back inside, that sort of thing. But Reek's going to be gone anyways. Like I said, like you said. So go out and get what you can for him. Sometimes you have to be shrewd about your assets and realize that right now is the right time to make the trade because the pick you're going to get is one round better than that comp pick's going to than you predict that comp pick to be.
If
To me,
that's
it's
the
worth
case,
it.
if that's the case, then I agree with you. I have zero confidence that that's the case. Sorry, I just I don't think anybody's paying their price for
See,
Rick Williams.
it's it's about the long term outlook on who Reek Woolen is as a player, though. Yes, has he not been great? You know, this year, last year, even year two to a certain extent. Yeah, I think year two was better than we thought because we expected him to be like he was year one. But there are so many coaches. Coaches want clay that they can mold. Coaches want athletes that they can coach. And every coach is arrogant and thinks that they can get the best out of a player. You can't tell me that half the secondary coaches in this league look at Reek Wallen and say, I can get the Pro Bowler out of him, right?
For the
That's what
right
coaches
price.
always say. That's what scouts always say. And Pete Carroll is like the ultimate in that. He just wants the athlete that he can mold. I see him in Raider colors. I see, the speed, the height, the arm length. Pete Carroll being the coach. It just to me it all adds up.
It
Now
might, but
trades are hard to make, right?
I know if it's less than a third, I'm gonna be pretty pissed about it. I know that much, and I would also say that it's for all of the things that you said about teams and coaches. They are right. I would also say that even Pete Carroll benched Rick Woolen at some point temporarily, but even Rick Woolen pushed the limits of a Pete Carroll, right? And
That's
so
because he's a bit of a knucklehead.
he is a knucklehead,
But
but
there are a
you
lot of
got
coaches that
Rick
have
Woolen.
soft spots for those dudes. I'm just telling you, like, I don't know. I If it's me again, you're not winning a Super Bowl with this team. So let's get what we can and keep it pushing. That's what I would do. Um, but I think it is going to be interesting. This trade deadline is. Is there anyone else you think could be traded off of this team? I could
Well,
see them
linebacker.
trading. I could see them trading like Haynes and a 7 for a 6. You know those trades that are like you're just trying to get rid of the dude. I could see that happening, where they give up on him. I don't really see any defensive trades unless another team has a need and they're willing to give somebody up. Oh, should bring
Oh
this
yeah.
up too. What do you think about Drake Thomas
Wait.
starting overnight
He's
at
playing it.
linebacker?
He's playing well, so I got no complaints. He's playing it.
He
He's
is
looking better as he's getting the time. He's getting more comfortable in the defense. So it's hard to argue with the decision. Is Tyrese? It's not like it happened overnight. It's not like it was an immediate decision. We saw Knight struggle consistently. We saw Thomas win. He won out. I'm
right.
team competition. So I don't care who you are. If you're the better player, I want you out there. Drake Thomas is a heck of a story, and I hope that he can be consistent. But you feel good about the fact that even if he cannot, that Knight's still on the team. You still got him on the club control. So, you know, having him as your backup, I think makes me feel a lot better about the linebacker depth altogether, really.
Right.
Um,
I
Yeah,
love, yeah, I love the fact that the player that is, like, to your point, the player that's playing better, the player that's showing more explosiveness. I think he's more decisive, and that's a lot of why Coach McDonald likes him. Those things, the fact that you can win a job, or the fact that Job won a job, right? I think is really cool. There are a lot of teams that don't function that way, where they give the player with the pedigree, the player with the investment, the player that had the expectations, right? That's the player that plays regardless of how they practice and regardless of how they show up on tape. And I think it says a lot that both Thomas and Job are playing as much as they do, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Back to trade
I
targets.
think
I
it's
did
cool.
point this
I
out.
think it's cool.
You didn't
Um,
you didn't respond, but Boye Mafe can absolutely be traded off this team. He really can. We just talked about the depth. We just talked about, maybe they bring Riley Mills in the mix. Mike Morris has actually played. He's inconsistent. You don't want to. I don't think you want him playing that much, like a bigger role. So it does obviously, it's going to thin out your depth whenever you trade somebody if you don't get a person at that position back. But Boye is absolutely an option be traded. He's also in his last year. The market for edge rushers is not a cheap one. Even, and like you said, somebody might be willing to pay for him out there. So I would say that, in
I
my
say
opinion,
keep him. I'd rather keep
Boye
him.
Mafe is more likely to be traded, I think, than Rick Woolen right now. That's what I bet, based on how the defense is
If
run and
if
what.
Derek Hall was healthy, yes. If Derek Hall was fully healthy, I would say that Mafe is a trade target. I think with him not healthy, and Morris is 300 pounds now, so Morris is, can't really play edge in the way that a Mafe can. But the other issue is that Nwosu's got that Abe Lucas health grade, right? And so I think you get what you can from Nwosu, but I think it's important that you have depth on the edge because you don't know the next time he's going to get hurt. I don't know. I think it's really important to keep as much depth on that edge as you can. I think the depth at corner is not greater, but there's some flexibility on the corner that you don't have at edge.
Yeah,
Meaning, if Eamon Wari has to play slot, right? Because you're short with corners, that's something he can do. I also personally want to see if Eamon Wari can play in the slot because I think that'd be nasty. If he could play full time there, that would be nasty. You see what the Lions do with Brian Branch as their big nickel or big guy in the nickel.
yeah. I
Change a
think
whole game changer,
I think
absolute game changer because you can't run the ball towards him.
yeah. I think we'll see that. I think we'll see that anyway. But yeah, I can't say I'm with you on the depth. I think that Mike McDonald needs his I think he needs his guys to be able to cover some of those, probably the Rams opponents. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely interesting. I like this comment right here from Sajan. Personally, he said, I'd be happy with winning divisions just to shut up the 49ers and the Rams. I honestly agree. And that's why I feel like, for me, like, I, I believe in progress. I mean, there may be some teams that go from like middling
Worst
to
to
Super
first.
Bowl overnight. But I think more commonly you see teams get the battle scars, even with your Bills. I mean, now the battle scars are beginning to add up for the for the Buffalo Bills, but even your Baltimore Ravens. And I think at a certain point there is a tipping point there, but I think a lot more often you in the NFL you see teams sort of take take some progression each time, and it doesn't come without risk of regression. But I trust John Snyder. I've liked a lot of what I've seen from him, and I'm extremely curious as to how he sees this team going into this pretty critical deadline.
I think this year is progress regardless, especially from a individual player standpoint. I think we've seen a lot of growth out of a lot of players. JSN's development has been transcendent, right? He's a full on wide receiver one, straight up, right? Torrey Horton is flashes. Arroyo is a threat at tight end. Barner has played very very well at tight end. Zabel is what we thought he was. Cross is really stabilized, although he got beat a couple times on Monday. He's playing against some great edges. Defensively, there's a ton of progress on the defense. I think this team, regardless of record, is growing. Regardless, a record does not necessarily reflect growth all the time, right? because win or a loss can flip on a dime. But I think this team is moving in the right direction, and that's what I want to see, regardless of what their record ends up being. I think this team is taking its lumps. I think that Niner loss was big, right? I
Yeah.
think that Tampa Bay loss was big,
Hmm.
and they hopefully they learned from it. My real question, if we're talking long term, is Sam Darnold your quarterback in 2 years? That's the real question to me. I know people were hyping him up like he was, Bart Starr and stuff like that when he, a couple weeks ago. But I truly think, wonder, is he your quarterback in 2 years? Does John Schneider think he's the quarterback in 2 years? That's the
I'm
question I want to answer.
I'm not sure they were ever going to, or I'm not sure anyone actually expected to have that question completely answered at this point in the season. It's impossible to, because of what he's already done last season. Um, it's going to come down to how he performs in those divisional games. Going to come down to how he performs in those big
Against
moments.
the
That's
Rams.
Rick's problem, right? We otherwise you're cool with Rick ruling, but it's the problem is in the big moments. That's where he's lost his opportunity to stay a Seahawk moving forward. And I think the same could easily be said for Sam Darnold. I'm optimistic to a certain extent, but I also feel like I'm optimistic if this team is strong around him. I don't think he can put a team on his back and carry them. I would not want to ask him to do that. Frankly, you're not paying him to have to do that, right? Like that's the good thing about his contract to me. So I will take Sam Darnold because of the money he's at. Then you can build around him. But I do need to see personally for me, just me. I do need to see a little bit of progress in regards to his ability to handle those moments. I think if you can see some progression, there are plenty of quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, or Sam's age quarterbacks in their primes that struggle with those high stakes situations, that they don't play their best ball in those moments. If that guy who can't lift and elevate a team has a contract that allows for you to elevate things around him, I'll take that. But I need to see that there's some level of hope or some lessons learned, and it's not just going to be the same thing over and over again. For me personally, that's what I'm looking for.
I don't care about I could care less what the contract is. I want to know, can you take a team to a Super Bowl? That's what matters to me. So whether he's getting paid a ton of money or no money at all, is this a quarterback that can lead you to a Super Bowl win? That's the only question I have for any quarterback that starts for the Seahawks. Can you envision that happening, right? And with Sam Darnold, I would say I'm closer to saying yes than I was at the beginning of the season, but it's still a no, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him being that guy. I just don't. I think you see when he's under pressure, you see him, he did it a lot more when he was younger, but he kind of freaks out at times, right? You see the fumbles or you see the interception that he threw, and that's the kind of thing I think he needs to continue to clean up to get to where we want him to be. He can play. We know he can play quarterback in a 7-on-7 type setting, right? We know he can deal when he has time. We know he can deal when he has space and play action. We saw it last year with the Vikings. That's not always going to happen though. I just again, there's progress with this entire team, and that includes the quarterback position. I just don't know that he's that guy. I don't think Milroe's that guy either, if you ask me. I don't think Milroe has the arm talent to be the guy that leads them to the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be someone that they're going to have to draft eventually, which is I want to see them do that. I really, really, really want to see them do that. When I'm watching college football on Saturdays, the whole thing I'm thinking about is who's the Seahawks' next quarterback, right? Um,
Yeah,
and I
not
think
not
that
as
probably
promising
runs
of a
counter
class.
to what's that?
They're not as promising of a class as they say were saying initially, huh?
No, I think some of the guys, I would say some of the guys that they thought were going to be promising. Well, Arch Manning was never coming out this year. He's going to come out in 2 years. And we've seen him fall on his face, obviously. Nussmeier got hurt. Nussmeier was balling out. Iamaleava should have never left Tennessee and go to UCLA. He just tanked his draft stock. And I still love him as a prospect, but he's made some poor decisions. But Dante Moore at Oregon, Detroit boy, Dante Moore can deal, and he is cool under pressure. I love Dante Moore. He might go number one in the draft. He's that good. I love Dante Moore. Lenora Sellers is the type of quarterback that we all want Milroe to be, right? Sellers is a tank, like 6'3", almost 250 pounds, rocket arm, no help at South Carolina. He and Dante Moore, if they both come out, are likely top 5 picks. And I think those two types of players have the upside to take the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. I really do. And I don't. But I think Moore needs to stay another year because this, and then a couple starts at UCLA are the only times he's really started, and so he needs more seasoning. I think he's more of a 2027 draft pick, and Sellers is more realistic this season. There are a couple others I like. Nussmeier, he's been hurt. Um, Ty Simpson at Alabama has been balling out too under Kalen DeBoer, the old UW coach. There are quarterbacks out there that I think are more talented than Sam Darnold is. I think Sam Darnold is a good placeholder, and I think he had a very good stretch at the beginning of the season. Now, if he plays at the end, the second half of the season, the way he did the beginning of the season, then it's a different conversation, and I can understand the debate coming against me saying we need to keep Sam Darnold. He can take us to a Super Bowl. I'm going to have to concede a little bit if he continues to play like that. I just don't think that's who he is.
Well, right now he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in football. I think a little regression isn't an indictment on him. I just think it's a 17 game season, and it's
People
a
are
little.
blowing him up though. People are blowing him up like that's who he is. People
I
were
don't
pumping
think
him up.
I don't think that I don't think that that's the case. I think people are giving him his due because most people had him being an absolute pumpkin from the start, and most people had the Seahawks offense being an absolute pumpkin from the start. I think that's just folks coming around to the reality and seeing that this team, that the questions that they had have been answered in a lot of ways. There are plenty of still questions around Sam Darnold. No question about that. Um, but yeah, man, I'm excited about this team, but I've also been here before. Like I have to temper my expectations because this team has been 5-2 before in the Pete era and started out hot, and then faltered. I mean, even Mike McDonald's first year, right? They came out with 3-0, and then you get hype, you get excited about this team, think what it could be, and then they falter. So I'm curious as to what we talked about this when we first hopped on. I'm gonna pull up this see y'all schedule here. You still have this team at 8 wins, you said.
8 and 9
So what teams do you
beating.
have them beating? Yeah, it's easier to who you have them beating at this point. If you only got them with 3 more wins this season.
So I've got him beating Arizona 3 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from now, I guess, at home. I've got them beating Minnesota at home because I think Minnesota's season is not going the direction that they wanted, and it's going to be a developmental year for JJ McCarthy.
Wait, you still got them losing to the Titans?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
ridiculous. Man.
I do.
That's
I
ridiculous.
do.
Unless you're
It's
saying it's a
not
trap game.
ridiculous.
It can't even be a
It's
trap game based on
it
where
is a trap game. It's a trap game for one,
it's not
and
really. It's after the Rams game. If it was before, I could get with you. But it's
can't.
this
They're gonna be beat up after the Rams game, and it's two road games in a row. I'm telling you right now, and Cam Ward is developing, whether
team is
people want to recognize that or not.
team is better on the
There's a
road.
reason why he was the number one pick. I'm just saying. We'll
Team is
see.
better
I'm
on the
saying
road. The team is terrible. We all know that.
there are elements of that team that can play. The offensive line is way underperformed its talent. Way underperformed its talent. It still has Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, you can make the argument is the best D tackle in football. There's talent on that team.
The Titans are so bad.
Anyways,
Tyler Lockett decided he didn't want to play football anymore.
hey, Tyler, hey, so no offense, Sergeant, I never liked Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's a punk for a
That's
number of
crazy.
reasons that everybody knows socially. I'm good. I'm good with Tyler Lockett. The other loss, okay, or the other win is at Carolina. Carolina is boo boo.
Oh, now you say that. You flipped that one. So even you got them even losing the 49ers game in week 18.
Yes,
You got them the Rams sweeping
in
them.
San
And for
Francisco.
some
Yes,
reason you keep hanging on to these Titans. I don't get it, but
I got
it's
so I
like
got
the
them
weirdest
losing.
thing I've ever seen.
So the losses are next week at Washington. Especially if those
Still,
receivers.
even though Jaden Daniels may not be playing, he's out.
I think he will. I think he will. He bounces back quickly. I even so I have them, and I think the rest of that team is very talented, very
They're
talented.
old.
No, they're not. The running back's not old. The D line's not old. The wide receiver is low. McLaurin is what, 28, 29. I've never been a Debo fan, but they got talent. Okay, I got them losing both Rams games. I just think the Rams are better. Yes, I have them losing the Titans game. Maybe that's a little bit because of you, but I got them losing the Titans game. I got them losing
I'm
in
not a
Atlanta.
Titans fan. I
No,
hate
I
the
know you
Titans.
are, but that's because I knew the reaction I would get more than anything. I
Yeah, I
have
mean that's
them
why I can't.
trolling.
Because I
I'm
hate the
trolling.
Titans, I can't even fathom how you would
I'm
pick the
trolling.
Seahawks. Yeah,
I
you
have them
gotta be.
losing in Atlanta. In Atlanta, because I think Atlanta at home is a very good team. At home, on the road, they're trash. I have them losing to Indiana or Indianapolis. The Colts are one of the best teams in the AFC right now, and I have them losing to the Rams twice, and then Niners at home. The only game that I look at that I predicted either way that I think is off base or a little bit unrealistic is that Titans game. That's just a hunch.
Oh,
That's the
Lord.
week after
It's not the
playing.
record at all that scares you. The fact that they fired the
No,
head coach
it's
done
two
that.
road games in a row, and it's coming off of an intense physical division. Playing an intense physical division rival on the road, and then you got to travel across the country to play another team on the road. Right? I think that's a tough ask,
I'll tell
and I
you
think
what.
there is talent on that team,
If they lose that
and I think
game,
this team is
I'm gonna be
capable of a
pissed.
letdown.
I'm
Was
gonna be
that?
pissed at you. If they lose that game, I'm gonna absolutely blame you.
If they lose the Titans game?
Yeah. I'm gonna single handedly. I don't care what goes wrong. I am going to blame you for continuing to put that in the atmosphere. Your karma of not reneging on this horrible take that you have might cost the Seahawks a win. And I think that's what you want. I think that's what you want. Let me tell you, it won't be a happy day if they lose that
It's
game.
not what
I
I
know
want. I'm a Hawks.
I'm driving 3 hours not to see them lose. I tell you that. I'm
I'm a
driving to
Hawks
that game.
fan. I'm a, I'm a Hawks fan that wants to see them win a Super Bowl. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I'm just saying I think it's a loss. I
Dad,
don't. I don't believe
better
in
not be.
certain parts of this team.
It
I
better
think
not
they're
be.
gonna look. They're gonna line up Jeffrey Simmons on your boy Anthony Bradford, and it's gonna be curtains. He's just gonna be in the backfield all day long.
Yeah, well,
He
you could have
just
said that
is.
about the last. That's why the Texan game was a big deal for me. I mean, you could have said that before. You could have said that about VA also, but I think they. I like what they've done in the pass protection to try to hide their weaknesses. I think all of their flaws, by the way, are not incorrect. I just think so much. I don't think very high of a lot of their opponents, and I think that those things will. I think those things are more likely to bite them in the playoffs than they are to
You
keep
gotta
them
make the
from
playoffs
getting
first.
in. That's what I'm saying.
You gotta make.
I'm saying I think those things are more likely to bite them in the playoffs than to keep them from getting into the playoffs,
Okay.
given the road ahead. Now, the Rams is the key. That's it's the bread and butter right there. Now, I don't expect them
Hmm.
to sweep the Rams, but if they could split with the Rams, I do expect them to sweep the Cardinals. They better sweep these Cardinals now. And I think I had them splitting pretty much throughout the division, and now um, I've got them another sweep on the Cardinals. But that Colts game is now way more in question than it was originally. So again, says
We had
the Colts will decline. It's in their history. Well, you know what? I don't think they had won 5 games this far into the season, so I don't know. History is kind of rebucking itself. I'm not gonna be the person that says they'll regress. Um,
Jonathan Taylor. Do you see
yeah,
Jonathan Taylor today?
yes, I
He
did.
almost hung a 50 burger in fantasy.
Yeah,
Like Jonathan Taylor gets a crease and he is gone.
yeah, that dude's beast.
Also, the, I have to agree with the comment though, in part just because we're still talking about Danny Dimes. People talking about Danny Dimes as an MVP candidate.
Yes,
And
we
that
are.
dude, that dude couldn't. He has splinters in his butt in New York from riding that bench. Like he was not good. I don't know what happened either in New York or in Indianapolis, but I don't know. They might be a pumpkin, but Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line can block. You know,
Yeah, and
it
it'll
just
be a
that's a good
war of
team.
attrition.
It's a good team.
It is a good team, and so I think that's a game I had as a win that I feel far less confident about. Still a lot of season to be played out, and it's ultimately a
Mhm.
war. But like it's who's going to be healthier is
More
going to
attrition.
play a big portion in the how those games play out.
Totally. Like what happens? But with this, there's a couple players on the Seahawks. Like what happens if We've seen them survive without Spoon, but I don't think they can survive, long term
Hmm.
without him out there. Can they survive if Ernest Jones gets hurt? How does the defense look if Leonard Williams gets hurt, right? How does the line look if Charles Cross gets hurt? I think that there's
Can you
and,
knock on
and
some
players.
wood, dude? Go find some wood. Go knock right now. Go knock on something. Thank
I
you.
just
All right. Thank you.
Yes, there's wood in this hotel room.
Thank you. I needed that. I wasn't gonna be uneasy the
I'm
rest of
just
this
I'm just
season.
saying, like I there's it's tenuous. Could they go 9-8 realistically? Yeah, I think I'm saying 8-9. I think 9-8 is something I could see very well see happen. It just means they win the Titans game, right? Or they win the Falcons game. I can see that happening. I don't see a division winner, and I certainly don't see a playoff run. I just I just don't. I don't think this is the year. I think the year could be next year. The year is certainly 27.
What's exciting for me is this is the offense's first year together. I think this bye week will be helpful. At least in Mike Manano's first year, the bye week proved to be a very productive time in terms of them fixing their flaws. I do have faith that he can do that again. I don't think it will take nearly as drastic measures as it took last year, but I think they can correct some of those things. It really is just a question of evaluation, having the time to do it. Um, I also believe that this is a young team. In fact, I don't just believe it. Statistically, I think it's like the third or fourth youngest team, especially on offense. And so, um, I believe in their ability to, though those flaws exist, to get better as they get more continuity. Because a lot of their issues, again, it's themselves. It's their errors. It's their inability to execute. It's their fumbles. It's their turnovers. But with a young offense, some of those things are given, and as the season goes on, a lot of times you begin to see that progression. So I think there is, I mean, it's a 50-50 shot. The team could regress. We've seen a 5-2 team ultimately end up being a 9-win team. I think we saw that under Pete Carroll. That was Pete Carroll's last year, in fact, I believe,
Hmm.
2023. So we've seen it before. It's not impossible. I think either way, this team is uh, a team that's going to be competing, even if they do fall on their
They're
face.
gonna teach them how to. They're gonna teach them how to run the ball during the bye, or what?
I think this team knows how to run the ball. That's what I like. It's not like we've seen seasons where there's been a complete inability to run the ball last season.
Because of a lack of talent.
And
Yes.
it was lack of talent. And it was lack of, coaching and all that stuff. I think we've seen flashes of it. It's not can this team run the ball. It's can they begin to become more effective and more consistent. Those things I think can fix themselves throughout the season as it plays out.
I hope so. I find this so. I guess we should end this soon, but I find it so fascinating that the offensive identity that we expected, or the offensive identity that we were excited about, even through the preseason, because they were running the ball, is kind of like it's been flipped on its head, and the offense is still effective, right? Even though this is for all intents and purposes, a passing team
Mm.
instead of a running team. That part is very interesting to me, and I wonder too if that eats at Coach McDonald at all. That they're doing it in a different way.
I think if they were down in running attempts, he probably would be pissed about it. I think they're still second to the Eagles in run attempts. I think also you see flashes. So I think he just thinks it's probably, I mean, he's all about process, right? I'm sure he probably takes that on himself more than he does, point and blame elsewhere, because the ingredients are there, especially if they can get a key trade or two that would push this team forward. But even if they don't, I think the ingredients are there just for natural improvement. We got this take from Saijan. He warns us not to take the Cardinals lightly. The Tweety Bird running Murray may beat us. You
Hey,
know what?
I agree. Look, I agree. I don't. I think the Cardinals have a ton of talent, right? And the Cardinals were supposed to be a threat for the NFC West. They've proven not to be this year so far, but it's not like they can't play spoiler. I think some of my prediction that the Seahawks would win is that Murray's health has been up and down,
Yeah.
right? And we don't know if it's Brissett or Murray.
Yeah, I can't hear you anymore. Yeah, that's weird, man. You still hear me? Audience, let me know if you can still hear us. Shot Sajin, let me know if you can still hear me. Let me know. And yeah, Sajin does point out that they're tired of losing to us, and that's why he said it, which I would agree. And in fact, I was nervous about that Cardinals game going into the last matchup because I did think that they would put their foot down, and I think they had a chance to. But if they didn't do it the last time, I'm less confident that they will this year. Next year, we can regroup. But I think at a certain point, you're at a point of no return, right? About like, is it worth it to? Yeah, I mean, they might want to play spoiler, but is it worth it to still be fighting for the season where they're clearly so far behind in the NFC West? But you might be right, Sajin. I won't get. I'll do my best to stay not too overconfident, but it's so hard to take the Cardinals seriously in general, I think. But I'm going to try. You're right, because that's not good sports karma. So um, so yeah. Man, all right. Tino had to drop. Really apologize for all the technical difficulties today, guys. I think internet's acting a little funky. I'm in different spots. I mean, my internet's having some issues. Tino's at a hotel, so he's having some issues. But we're still working, grinding through our schedules to try to get you guys some good content. Tino, you back?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I think it's probably internet thing on both our ends, maybe that it's
Mhm.
causing those issues. But anywho, final thoughts, Tino, as we get ready to close out.
Uh, Fun team to watch. I love defensive football. I will, as negative as I'm coming across, I don't. I'm very positive about where I think this team is headed. I think there's some big forks in the road coming up with the decision about the quarterback. For one, I think the games against the Rams will tell us a ton. I also think this game against the Commanders is going to be a big one, right? If they come out and they can play really well against the Commanders or be more physically dominant, right, and be able to run the ball a little bit more, then I think I will change my tune a bit more because I think this is a big game. Not an easy game against Washington, but it's still fun. I'm one who loves watching my teams develop, no matter what the record is. Same thing. I grew up as a Mariners fan, so I'm used to rooting for bad teams. Seahawks fan too. Seahawks were not good when I was young, and so you get used to just wanting to see them get better over time, right? And we are seeing that from this team. So I don't know. It's must watch TV for me. I love this team. I don't love Darnold as the quarterback, but just about every other position outside of right guard and right tackle, I love. So I'm excited for this game coming up here.
Hey, by the way, your boy Abe Lucas, I think, has had several good games here in the stretch. He's still calling out Abe Lucas, but he's actually gotten better as the season has gone on.
That's
So
good.
shout out.
I'm just waiting till he gets hurt. Just waiting for him to get hurt.
See, it's either one or the other. That goalpost, it just keeps moving. I keep seeing it go further, man. At first, he was trash, and he was a trash can on the field, and now that he's playing better, now
Hey,
okay. We're approaching my 8 games, by the way. So,
hey, I don't.
yeah,
I'm not trying to offend nobody, but somebody famous did say hoes got to eat too. So I just hey
no,
Lucas,
that's
go play okay every
dang.
once in a while.
Tino trolling, absolutely. Tino is trolling. That's crazy. Uh, Yeah, yeah. All right. We're gonna get out of here on that. No, I'm not about to do. We're gonna see how your Commanders do against the Chiefs. We'll we'll,
And
we'll
not my
see how they
Commanders. Hey,
fare
that's
out.
not my Commanders.
Yeah, you seem to
That's my
like them a
Titans
whole
though.
lot better.
Hey,
I
that's my
think they're
Titans.
okay. I think at
That's
the
my
end of the day,
Titans though.
yeah, you're the Titans. You're a sweetheart, trash, garbage team. It's the Titans, but for some reason, I think you hold a candle in your heart for every team that's not the Seahawks on this
Yeah,
on this stretch.
I love Cam Ward. I love
That's
Cam
great.
Ward. I love his story. I love Cam Ward. That doesn't mean I'm rooting for the Titans. I will never root against the Seahawks, but I do love Cam Ward.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I think they'll probably fare okay against Jayden Daniels. I'm not sure he's got a lot of experience against the Mike McDonald defense, and I will take that defense over anybody at this point right now with where they're playing. All right, Tino, tell the folks where they can find you. Let's get them up out of here.
Uh, Tino Junior 20 on Blue Sky doing my positional fantasy baseball positional analysis right now with Mimi. Yeah, Blue Sky, Tino Junior 20.
Cool. Be sure to follow the show on at Seahawks360 on X and at Seahawks360 on Blue Sky. That's it. That's all the time we have for today. We're out. And as always,
Go
go Hawks.
Hawks.